Okay, today we have a 215 EIS with a defective key, and when we read the key it shows up as a version 40, so we can't read the data from that key, so we're going to solder on and read the data from this EIS. Okay, this W215 actually has, let's see if we can see it with the, this has the 4J74Y, and this is like version 2 of the W215. And what we're going to do, instead of using the MBE Prog, we're actually going to get out the VVDI Prog because I've had real great success using that. If you use the MBE Prog, it gives you a different wiring schematic, so I started using the VVDI and it works really good. We'll show you that. Okay, so we've opened up VVDI Prog and we're selecting W220, W215, the 4J74Y. What's really nice is you got the connection diagram, and because I'm old and can't see, you click on version 1, and if you click on it, you can go down here, make this thing bigger, and it kind of gives you an idea whether it's version 1 or version 2, and you can see the difference in version 2. And I'll tell you the way I usually notice the difference is right here under chip number 1, you're going to see 2 resistors, whereas if you go back to version 1, you only have 1 resistor. And on ours, I'll try and make this so you can see it. You can see we only have 1 resistor down there, not 2. So that's how we know we have version 1. So we're going to solder this on and then we'll take a picture. Okay, just a quick footnote. I've had a lot of people tell me that, well, you need to have a microscope and you need to have a really expensive soldering station. Guess what, folks? I have one off of eBay. It was $65 and it works fine, and it's worked fine for probably 5 years now. Microscope, yeah, I'm really sorry. I have like a jeweler's loop or whatever they call this. It's got a light underneath it and it works fine, and I'm old. I can barely see shit. With a set of readers and that, everything works great, at least for me. Your mileage may vary. Don't try this at home. Okay, for those of you who aren't avid EEPROM addicts, I just made that up. So let me give you the biggest tip I can give anybody. This is Kingbo solder flux from China, where they don't have the EPA rules that say everything you touch and get near you should not cause cancer or whatever. This stuff is the good stuff. I'm sure it causes cancer just being in the same room with you, but put a little bit on wherever you're going to solder. I mean, I used a toothpick, put this on, put it on both sides of this. You're going to have some right here. Then you're also going to have some, sorry, this is kind of tough to do when you're right here. But just put a little bit on there. You're going to go to both sides of this resistor. Just put a little bit on there. It makes your job work so much easier. Okay, so we've got our wires soldered on. Not sure if you can see it, but that guy, that is the coax, which is kind of cool on the AVDI or the VVDI Prog. They run one cable and they split it out for you, which I think is pretty good. Those two are soldered on, that one, and then your power or your ground and VCC. One thing I will tell you, I usually make sure that this is unplugged until I solder on or solder off, and then I plug it in, because you don't want any electricity from the soldering iron feeding back through into the prog. Okay, so we're hooked up to the laptop. Now we're going to come over here. We are going to close out that. We're hooked up. We're ready to go. All we have to do is click read and initialization, trying, reading. Okay, we saw how quick that was. We're good to go. All we have to do is save this file. And seeing as I have this on a different computer, I'm going to have to move it over to the other, and then we'll calculate keys and we're good to go. Okay, we have our file on our flash drive. We're going to move it from one computer over to the other. We're going to open it up. We're going to click copy. And now for me, when you're using MBE, I go to C, Program Files, MBE Key, Programs, Out, and then I go ahead, right click, and paste. And what that does is that puts it into the computer, local disk, Program Files, MBE Key Programs, Out file folder. That way you can find it when you open up NEC 12. The reason I do that is so that when you open up the MBE and you click load, it's going to default to the out folder. So that way I can find it and open it up. So let me find that. W215 11 10 17. There we have all our data. You notice it says that we have the password, different key data, and also if you look there, you'll see where it says all the keys are used. What that means is this car is down to its last key. If they would take it to the dealer would tell them they would need a new EIS and 2 new keys. And trust me, that's not $400 or $500. That's usually about $2,400 to $3,500. So we're doing the customer a big favor here by making them keys. Okay, we have loaded our file. Now we're going to click All, Deep, and we're going to click Calc. And this is going to go through and it's going to, see how that just turned green? This is an older laptop, so sometimes it takes a while, but it will calculate keys and we'll start back up when it's done calculating. We're back at the program. That only took a couple of minutes and it calculated all 8 keys. Do you want to save the results? Yes, we do. That always makes me feel good when it does all of that. One thing I've always done is, I'm still soldered onto this. So now that we've calculated keys and everything's ready to program, I will now unsolder from the EIS and we'll go ahead and program keys. Okay, a couple of points here to make. We have our BE key in the MBE key programmer. Also, if you can, go ahead and write the SSID on the EIS, and I'll tell you the reason for that. We've closed the calculation, the MBE key offline, and you notice, unless you wrote it down, there's nothing that tells you the EIS SSID. Another thing, this key, customer supplied this. If you notice, the status is 0. To be able to program this key correctly, go to BE Soft, read it, then click 21DF. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And it will erase it. Now, watch what happens when we look at our status. See how the status goes from 00 to 21DF? When the program tries to write the key, if it sees it at 00, it'll say it's not prepared. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go up here, we're going to load, and we are going to look for, aha, D00E. So that's going to be over a little bit because D comes after A, well, most of the time. So if you notice right here, it says D017F6. That's us. We're going to open that up, and I always start at the beginning if they're all used. And we open that, and now we're going to program that to the key. Okay, now we're going to go up, we're going to activate it. We're good. Now we're going to try it in the EIS. Now we have programmed our key, got our key here. We put our EIS back together, and we actually put a clamp on it. Hopefully it's going to make it a little easier to try and film. We're going to make all kinds of wonderful beeping noises. Take our key. 1, 2, 3. So 3 times, and it turns. So now we've just made a key for this car that should start it. Move on to the next one. Okay, this is just another tidbit and tip. How about that? Okay, so we made key number 0. When we read it, it comes up that it's key 00. When we read the customer's key, it comes up and it's key 01. If you have a customer's key and you program a new key to the same position, after about 20 to 25 times of use, depending on which key gets used more, it will block out the other key. So just realize that if you make 2 keys, let's say I made this key number 1 and this one was key number 1, the customer, when they went to use it, whichever one they left in the drawer and didn't use as much would not work after about 20-25 times of use of the other key. So just remember that when you're making a key, read the customer's key and find out which key they have before you go programming a key. Another little tip. Okay, this is the customer's old key, and if you look at this reader, that was, oh, helps if you turn it on. If you notice, it's putting out RF, but you're not getting any IR, infrared. Now on a good key, you're going to have RF and then IR. If you have IR and then RF, hate to tell you this, but you've probably soldered the chip on wrong. Don't ask me how I know that, but yeah, if you screwed up on your soldering skills by putting the chip on the board wrong or something, it'll come back and it'll have the IR, and then the 315 RF will kick off. Something to think about.